Okay, well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us and for continuing to follow our mission and our program. As you recall from yesterday, we had a couple of challenges that we encountered, and that ultimately ended up in a scrub of the first launch attempt for Artemis 1. The day began with some weather challenges that delayed the start of tanking, and then once we got into the cryogenic loading of the vehicle, we encountered a leak at the tail service mast umbilical on the hydrogen side at the 8-inch quick disconnect. The team managed to work its way through loading the core stage and the upper stage in spite of that leak, and we got a fully loaded vehicle and went into the engine bleed demonstration and attempted to do the thermal conditioning of the RS-25 engines, but we were unable to get the engines within the thermal conditions required to commit to launch. That was something that we knew about coming out of the agency flight readiness review, that we would demonstrate that the first time in the launch countdown, and we knew that that was a risk to being able to successfully attempt a launch that day. In combination with that, we also had a vent valve issue on the core stage, and it was at that point that the team decided to knock off the launch attempt for that day. Since that time, the team has rested, and along with thousands of others, our operations teams, our engineers, and you folks on the call that we're here to follow the mission, folks got a good night's sleep. We came back and reviewed the data from Monday's launch attempt and met today as a mission management team with our operations and engineering teams at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and here's what we agreed on. We agreed on what was called Option 1, which was to operationally change the loading procedure and start our engine chill down earlier. We also agreed to do some work at the pad to address the leak that we saw at the hydrogen tail service mast umbilical, and we also agreed to move our launch date to Saturday, September the 3rd. We are going to reconvene the mission management team on Thursday, September the 1st, to review our flight rationale and our overall readiness. So that's where we got to today, and I'll turn it back to you, Catherine.
Thanks. Next, we will go to John Honeycutt from the SLS program.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Yeah, I know we were all looking forward to having a launch yesterday, and I can assure you there's nobody more ready than to go fly the rocket than I am. We did run into some issues that we couldn't get dispositioned in real time yesterday and get to T0 in the launch window. But as you've heard, we were doing what we call a kickstart bleed test yesterday during the test that we had planned on doing during the previous wet dress. We were unable to do that in the previous wet dress because we ran into a hydrogen leak at the 4-inch bleed quick disconnect that the team has since repaired. And so we're in the mode now of processing the data that we got and updating our approach prior to the next launch attempt. And so I'm confident with where the team's headed. I've spent most of the day with the team. The team's been looking at data last night and looking at data today, and based on what we've done with the core stage and the 4 engines at the Stennis Space Center for the green run test, I've got a lot of confidence in the design of the rocket. For good reasons, we did implement some differences in what we did during the green run. As of today, and based on the data that we've got, we think we can do something like what we did at the Stennis Space Center and put ourselves in a better position for launch. If we'd have gotten this data in the wet dress rehearsal number 4, we would be doing exactly what we're doing now. And so, as you heard Mike mention, and we talked it at our FRR, this was something that we were unable to do in wet dress rehearsal number 4, and it was a validation test that we needed to do. And so we've got a path forward to get where we need to get to support the next launch attempt.